Okay, what we're going to do now is cut this into some grains. Just going to twist it to get it out. Get the tape off. And I'll show you 3 or 4 ways to cut grains. I cheat, I use a lathe when I do it. One thing on this tape, is that before I put it on here, I take it and stick it to my pants so that it doesn't tear the casting tube. So the first thing we're going to do is find out exactly where this casting tube starts. I can peel it off. It's still a little bit gummy. It's a little bit early, but I think we'll be able to get it off just fine. So whether you measure it with a tape measure, you need to be fairly accurate. I have some calipers. I have them set at 3 1/8 inch. I can come along here, put a small hole in it. One thing, here we go, we have a pen. I'm going to mark this. I'm going to get a piece of paper. And I roll the paper around here. And that's giving me a straight line. As long as the paper starts and overlaps itself, then you're absolutely straight. And I can roll this to where my line is. Back and mark this. We'll go from very few tools to the most tools. Utility knife. Leave it all on the mandrel. We're going to roll this, holding right on the line, or slightly off the line, and I'll show you how we can pull those back. So all we're doing is trying to get through the paper or cardboard tubing. I could actually cut this all the way through. If you want to see from the side, you'll see where I'm going pretty deep. I can feel a mandrel right there. We'll cut this one like this. It's probably because it's still a little bit soft. If I couldn't get through it, I can take my hacksaw and I can just push down, roll it back and forth, and it'll cut right through there. So that's one. We're going to cut them all off, then we'll take them off the mandrel. So then for the second one, I'm going to go from where the first one ends, pull it out here, make a hole in it, mark that hole, use a little paper trick. Go a little bit past it. It's easier to sand it off than it is to add some to it. So we got a line all around there. We can take a sharp knife, same thing as the hacksaw. I've got 2 sets of line on here. I want to make sure that I'm cutting the right one. Just going to put it on the line and slowly roll on that line with a knife. Do a little bit, change it up a little bit, pushing down. And all we're trying to do right now is get through the cardboard casting tube. The other way, the easier way, is to use PVC pipe cutter. It's kind of a big handle thing. You get them at Harbor Freight. I'll post the link to them. I think they're like $12 or $15. And they cut this very good. I looked all over and couldn't find mine. Since I don't have any kids at home anymore, I can't blame it on one of the kids. So, but those is what I would recommend, is PVC pipe cutter to cut through here. So now that I have it through the cardboard, I can take it and I can roll it back and forth on here. Don't use your kitchen knives. Your wife's like mine. She doesn't appreciate this kind of use of household items. Put a pair of vice grips down here on the tape. Gonna twist these grains off. They're still a little bit green, so they're gonna be a little bit hard. There's one. There's two. There's three. I do it down here on the tape end because that's where I want the bigger size anyway. I don't want to mess it up here where my packing tool goes over. So if we look at these, they're pretty good. Another thing that I would recommend is that before you take them off the mandrel is that you put little lines on here, like one line here, 2 lines here, so when you put them in, you know exactly how they line up. It's not real important, but that's something I always kind of do. Is that to get nice flame front on everything, you can go back to your knife. You can slowly cut this out, concave it. Years ago I made up a little thing that's concaved already. I can put it on here. Push on here. If you look at that now, it's concaved. If you get any little casting tube over the edges, just go like this, knock it off. But what we want to have happen is a flame front to go out each end. I was talking about cleaning up. You can see that some of this is pretty fine right here. Let me grab a bowl. So you want to clean this up as you go. Little fires are easy to deal with. Great big fires aren't. So we can do the other side if we want. We can cut it. We can sand it. Keep an eye because we cut them a little bit longer. I don't know if you can see that, but we're right on the money. Another thing we can do is take a short piece of the mandrel. Whether we do this in the drill press or a hand drill. See if these grains are going to fit. If they're too loose, what we can do is take a piece of tape and spiral it on here. Just increase the chuck size a little bit. Put that on there. This is some 60 grit belt sander. You can do this on your drill press if you want. I don't know how we're going to do this here. So this is a little bit green still, but it is working. We're going to see how long we are. We're a little bit long. We can come back and do this side. I think everybody has a drill bit at home, can get some 60 grit sandpaper, you know, welding gloves. Doesn't get hot. but use common sense. And I purposely cut these a little bit long to show you how you can trim them up. So maybe a little bit more on that one. This one, it was the top of the casting tube. What we can do on that is go ahead and clean up the good end first. Helps if I turn the sandpaper around. We can measure it, how much more do we have to take off. A little bit. I'm going to mark that. You can stick it back on here. Let's get rid of what we have out here. If we had this on the drill press, we could set our table to the right height. I don't know if I can do this. And we could use the saw blade to cut the grains to length. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, to guess. Still too grain to cut with a knife. But the best way to cut them without spending a lot of money is to buy that PVC pipe cutter. I use a lathe, makes it really fast and easy and accurate. So between these grains, you should be 9 3/8 of an inch. We're about a 1/16 off. We can sand them, but we know how to work with them. In one of the pictures I had a mandrel thing and a drill bit. And drill bit from 1/8 inch up to 1/2 inch, you get them a Harbor Freight. From 1/2 inch and 1 inch, you get a little bit more pricey. But sometimes when we start getting to the bigger grains and you need 1 1/8 drill bits or 1 1/2, it starts getting pricey. Something I've been using is spade bits or speedy bits. What you do is that this is an old grain, it's got a 1 inch core, and this is a 1 3/16 drill bit. So what I do is I take a piece of the mandrel, cut a hole in the top of it for the speedy bit to go down into. This will slide in there. If it's a little bit loose, you can put tape on it. Nope. We're going to put tape on that. And again, drill press. You know, think about the shavings that you're making. Clean up after yourself. And then we can chuck up the speedy bit. We'll see if we can do this with 2 hands. And all that does is it acts as a pilot, and we're going to go through. So now we took that 1 inch core, we made an 1 3/16. We'll clean up all of our stuff, and it's pretty cheap to do this. You know, what's a bit? $4 here. Much cheaper than a regular drill bit. It's pretty accurate because we have a guide that's following through, and then we just come back and open it up to the size we want. If these speedy bents aren't the size you want, it's really easy to grind them down too and make custom sizes. So that's about it. Measure, go a little bit long. It's easier to take the material off than it is to add it on short grains. Mark your grains just so you can, when you put it back in the motor, if your cores are off a little bit, it helps straighten out the cores. Concave the surfaces of the face so that you have even flame frontage coming out of the core. You can use simple tools as a knife to cut them, vice grips to hold them, hacksaw. So you can make up something kind of fancy. This is 60 grit that rubber cemented this on here so it was replaceable. Have a 1/2 inch core on this end. The other side where the sandpaper's has come off is 3/4, and that way I can face up to 3-inch grains with it. So it's all pretty simple, just good straight cores as you can get them. Pack it in there really good when you're making it, and measure your grains as you go, especially the last one if your measurements are off. You don't want to cut off the last 1/4 inch or whatever and put your grains in there and figure out, oh, I messed up somewhere and I need a 1/4 inch. So we'll put this motor together, we'll fire it, I'll post a video. So that's it.